Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is pretty simple. Cut through the noise, find the key insights from a whole stack of information, and we'll give you that shortcut to being genuinely informed. Today, we're diving deep into the really fascinating and honestly critical world of Kenya's higher education system. We've got some great material you shared with us. We're aiming to unpack the big trends, the challenges, and they are significant, and also the, incredible opportunities that come with this huge university boom Kenya's experiencing.
Yeah, and our insights, they're drawn from some really solid sources. We're looking at data from the Commission for University Education, that's CUE, and the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, KNBS. Plus, we've layered on top of that some analysis from respected outfits like Kepi Para, the Kenya Institute for Public Policy Research and Analysis, and also KPS, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. And, as we started digging through all this, one number just absolutely jumped out, really demanded attention. Over 559,600 students. That's how many are now enrolled across Kenyan universities and colleges. I mean,
That's not just a statistic, is it? It feels like a massive wave hinting at a fundamental reshaping of the country's future.
It really is. And what's so striking, I think, isn't just the sheer number, but the kind of paradox it throws up. You have this huge investment in people, in human capital, which is fantastic. But at the same time, it really highlights a growing disconnect. It forces you to ask, has quantity maybe outpaced quality? And what does that actually mean for Kenya's competitiveness down the line? Because this surge, it's deeply connected to national goals, things like Vision 2030, and of course, the competency-based curriculum, the CBC.
That's a really potent way to frame it, the paradox. Okay, so let's try and pull back the layers on this enrollment surge a bit more, because the scale, as you said, it's genuinely something. Over 500,000 students. It just underlines how vital tertiary education has become, right? Expanding access has clearly been a massive national priority. And if we break down that big number, over 559,000, you see the vast majority, over 420,000 students.
That's nearly 3/4, isn't it?
Exactly, almost 75%. They're in the public universities. Your big names, University of Nairobi, Kenyatta, Moi, JKUAT, they're still the huge magnets. But it's not on public. There are around, 139,600 students in private institutions?
Like Strathmore, Daystar, USIU Africa, Mount Kenya University, places like that.
Right. And these private universities, they seem to be carving out a real niche, growing, especially with specialized courses and more flexible ways of learning.
And it's so important, I think, to widen the lens here. Because while we talk about this university boom, we also have the technical and vocational education and training sector, TVET. And that has another 500,000 plus people enrolled.
Wow, another 500,000.
Yeah. So the key point really is that these systems, university and TVET, they're complementary. It signals this much broader national push for skills, beyond just the traditional degree. It's a full court press on human capital.
Okay, so you've got this incredible influx universities, TVETs. The obvious next question is, what are they actually choosing to study? Are student preferences shifting? Or are they sticking to the sort of traditional fields? Because this is where it gets really interesting, I thought. Despite a big government push for STEM, science, tech, engineering, math, the data seems to show slowing demand for those exact courses, which feels counterintuitive.
It does.
What do you think that tells us about how students are seeing things, especially when the official narrative is all STEM, STEM, STEM?
Well, it reveals a fascinating disconnect, really. STEM is crucial, no doubt about it, for development, for the global economy. But the majority of students, they're still heading towards humanities, business studies, education, social sciences. Those remain the big draws.
So why the stagnation in STEM then?
Several factors seem to be at play. There's the perception, rightly or wrongly, that these courses are just harder. Then there are real concerns about, will there be a job for me specifically in this high-tech field when I finish? And, critically, there's the issue of infrastructure. Some universities might not have the labs, the resources needed to properly support these really complex, expensive programs.
That paints a clearer picture.
Okay.
But within that overall trend, some areas are seeing sharp growth. Health courses, nursing, public health, clinical medicine, pharmacy, they're surging. And so is ICT.
Absolutely.
It feels like, the post-COVID world and just the sheer speed of digitalization are really driving those choices, like the market speaking directly to students.
Indeed. The market is definitely making its voice heard there, loud and clear. But are there other, maybe less obvious areas where we might expect growth soon? Or are health and ICT just the dominant forces for now?
That's a good question. What's also striking, though, is the flip side.
Yeah.
The sharp drop in people going into teacher training programs.
Yes, that's significant.
And it seems largely down to changes from the Teachers Service Commission, the TSC, on qualifications, plus the CBC reforms rolling out.
Exactly, which has led to lower absorption rates, fewer new teachers actually getting jobs in the system straight away. It creates a really dynamic, maybe even volatile situation in education.
And if we zoom out again, look at the demographics across all these places.
Yeah.
Nationally, we're near gender parity, which is great news, a big step forward.
Definitely positive.
But then you drill down.
Mm.
Engineering, still very male-dominated. Education, nursing, still largely female-dominated. So parity isn't quite uniform everywhere.
No, nuances remain.
Plus, there's that strong pull toward the cities. Nairobi, Nakuru, Kisumu. Their institutions attract the most students, which you have to imagine puts a strain on rural universities trying to compete for talent.
Absolutely. It concentrates resources and potentially opportunities.
Okay, so all these trends, the sheer numbers, the shifting choices, they naturally lead us to what so many of the sources flagged as the huge challenge, the labor market impact. We seem to be facing these critical structural mismatches. Supply of graduates here, industry demand over there, and a gap in between.
It's a truly pressing issue. Look, Kip Rekre, the Policy Research Institute, they paint a stark picture. It's quite sobering, actually. They found over 60% of Kenyan university graduates are still jobless or they're underemployed a full year after they graduate.
60% after a year, that's high.
It is, and it's directly linked, they say, to this oversupply in certain fields, arts, education, business. The market just can't soak them all up. It's not just an academic issue. It's becoming a major societal one.
So it's not just about the number of jobs available, but the type of jobs and the skills needed. That's the bottleneck.
Yeah.
Kipi the private sector group, they had some specific concerns about this skills mismatch, didn't they? What were the main things they highlighted?
Yes, Kip Piazza consistently raises concerns. They find graduates often lack, well, practical competencies. Things like problem-solving skills, critical thinking, adaptability.
The soft skills?
Exactly, the soft skills, but also, crucially, an entrepreneurial mindset. Employers want people who can, hit the ground running, innovate, understand the modern workplace. That often requires more than just the theoretical knowledge from lectures.
Yeah, I remember reading a quote in one of the KPRA reports from a graduate who sounded pretty frustrated. It said something like, I have the paper, but no one wants to read it.
That captures it perfectly. It's the gap between the credential and the capability sometimes.
And tying this back to the sheer numbers, the pressure on job creation must be immense.
It's enormous. Think about it. Over 500,000 students in higher education, tens of thousands graduating each year. The economy needs to generate something like 800,000 new jobs annually just to absorb them. That's way beyond what's currently being created, leading to this growing pool of underutilized talent.
That 800,000 figure is just staggering. Okay, but it's not all doom and gloom. There are some emerging responses, right? Like the gig economy. We're seeing more graduates turning to freelancing, gig work, digital platforms, maybe starting their own thing, especially in ICT, content creation.
Yes, definitely. It's a proactive adaptation by graduates to a really tough market.
And it's good to see universities starting to react too, setting up entrepreneurship hubs, incubation centers. Is that happening fast enough, though? Is it enough, or does it need to be like a deeper, more systemic shift?
It's a positive development, absolutely, but it really does need to become more systemic, more embedded, which brings us neatly to the policy and institutional reforms that are trying to tackle these realities. One massive change is the new higher education funding model.
Great, the 4 bands.
Exactly. Classifying students, vulnerable, extremely needy, and less needy. And that dictates the mix of state funding grants, scholarships, loans. The goal is twofold. Improve equity, make sure ability to pay isn't the main barrier, but also help reduce the huge debt burden many public universities are carrying, make the whole system more sustainable.
And it's not just funding, is it? It's also about what is being taught. There's this big push for curriculum review, aligning university courses with the competency-based curriculum, CBC, trying to encourage learning that's more modular, more skill-focused, more competency-driven. The stated aim, you hear it a lot now, is to produce job creators, not job seekers. That sounds good, but How hard is it for a university system traditionally geared towards producing employees to make that pivot?
It's a monumental challenge. It requires a fundamental shift in how teaching happens, the resources available, the entire institutional mindset, really. Another potential reform, maybe a bit more controversial, is looking at university mergers, especially for institutions that might be underperforming or struggling financially.
Consolidating resources.
Potentially. And also, phasing out courses that have very low enrollment or maybe don't align well with national development priorities. It's about optimization, making sure every shilling spent and every course offered is truly relevant for Kenya's future.
Makes sense, especially given the capacity constraints. And that's where digital expansion feels like such a potential game changer.
It really does.
The growth in e-learning, blended delivery, it's a big deal. It helps with capacity, obviously, but it's also huge for working students, people in remote areas.
And potentially for attracting international students, too, extending the reach.
So when we pull all this together, look towards the future, it feels like these enrollment numbers, this 559,600 plus fifth stack, it's both a massive achievement, right? A testament to expanding access.
Absolutely. A milestone.
But it's also a pretty loud warning signal. Access is one thing, but the real work now is ensuring quality, ensuring relevance, making sure there's a strong link to what the 21st century economy actually needs.
This is precisely the fork in the road. You have this incredible asset, over 500,000 students, a generation brimming with potential to drive growth, innovation, progress, but, and it's a big but, if the reforms don't bite, if curriculum doesn't adapt, if employability isn't boosted, if those links between academia and industry aren't forged properly, then there's a genuine risk, a risk of creating what some call a surplus of educated but disillusioned youth.
Which could create its own problems.
Exactly. That could fuel significant social, even economic tensions, turning that potential asset into potentially a liability. The stakes are incredibly high.
Wow, that really lays it out. A truly comprehensive look, like immense progress on one hand, urgent challenges on the other. We've covered a lot today, seen Kenya's really impressive expansion of higher education access, and that is a genuine achievement, but also underscored this pressing need, this urgency to make sure these graduates are truly equipped for the modern workforce. It's a journey, isn't it? Full of potential, but definitely facing some significant hurdles. So thinking about all this, what responsibility does the nation's education system really have, beyond just handing out degrees? What does it actually mean to future-proof a workforce in this age of such rapid change? And maybe for you, the listener, how can individual learners best navigate this shifting landscape? Something to perhaps mull over as you go about your day.